In the dawn of hope, the hills surrounding Mizpah bask in a golden glow. This small fortified town, nestled among olive groves and terraced fields, carries an air of cautious optimism, despite the scars left by the Babylonian conquest. Gedaliah, appointed governor by Nebuchadnezzar, walks through the streets, greeting people warmly. He stops to hand a loaf of bread to a destitute widow, reassuring her that better days lie ahead. His presence brings comfort to the weary souls who have endured so much suffering. His voice carries a tone of authority, tempered by compassion. In contrast, Ishmael watches Gedaliah from afar, hidden beneath his dark cloak. His piercing gaze betrays no emotion, but his clenched fists hint at simmering resentment. Meanwhile, Johanan approaches Gedaliah, visibly agitated.
Be careful. Ishmael cannot be trusted. His ambition knows no bounds.
Gedaliah smiles kindly, placing a reassuring hand on Johanan's shoulder.
Do not fear, my friend. I believe in the power of trust and unity. Together, we can rebuild what was lost.
As night falls, Gedaliah hosts a grand banquet in his residence to honor Ishmael and his men. The hall is adorned with flickering oil lamps, casting dancing shadows on the stone walls. The table groans under the weight of roasted lamb, freshly baked bread, and jugs of wine. Laughter echoes through the room as Gedaliah raises a cup in toast.
To peace and prosperity for all of Judah.
Ishmael nods politely, though his eyes remain cold and calculating. Beneath the table, his hand inches toward the dagger concealed within his robes. The tension builds palpably as the scene unfolds, culminating in a sudden, violent act. With lightning speed, Ishmael lunges forward, plunging the blade into Gedaliah's chest. Blood spills onto the pristine linen tablecloth as Gedaliah collapses, disbelief etched onto his face. Chaos erupts. Ishmael's 10 men draw swords, cutting down Babylonian guards and guests alike. The once peaceful banquet hall becomes a slaughterhouse, filled with screams and clashing steel. Women and children flee in terror, while brave defenders rally to fight back. Yet the odds are insurmountable, and soon the attackers gain the upper hand. The violence spills into the streets of Mizpah, where Ishmael leads his forces in a brutal purge. Flames lick the rooftops as homes are torched, and bodies litter the cobblestone roads. Refugees scatter in every direction, some seeking shelter behind closed doors, others attempting to escape the carnage. Amidst the chaos, Ishmael strides confidently, his sword dripping with blood. His expression is one of grim satisfaction. Though it falters briefly when he sees the lifeless body of a young child lying in the street, doubt flickers across his face, only to be replaced by steely determination. This is war, he reminds himself, a necessary evil to secure his own destiny. Outside the city gates, a group of pilgrims from Shechem, Shiloh, and Samaria kneels in prayer, mourning the destruction of the temple. Their grief makes them vulnerable. Ishmael seizes the opportunity, approaching them under the guise of offering protection. At first, they hesitate, wary of this stranger cloaked in darkness. But Ishmael assures them that he means no harm, promising to lead them to safety in Ammon. Tragically, they comply, unaware of the sinister plans awaiting them. Once gathered, Ishmael reveals outside the city gates, a group of pilgrims from Shechem, Shiloh, and Samaria kneels in prayer, mourning the destruction of the temple. Their grief makes them vulnerable. Ishmael seizes the opportunity. Approaching them under the guise of offering protection, he orders them to join the survivors of Mizpah. At first, they hesitate, wary of this stranger cloaked in darkness. But Ishmael assures them that he means no harm, promising to lead them to safety in Ammon. Tragically, they comply, unaware of the sinister plans awaiting them. Once gathered, Ishmael reveals his true intentions, binding their hands and forcing them to march alongside the other captives. Word of the massacre reaches Johanan, who immediately gathers a band of loyal fighters. Mounted on swift horses, they gallop across the countryside, determined to rescue the captives before Ishmael can deliver them to Ammon. The chase takes them through rugged terrain, past ancient ruins, and along winding paths illuminated by the setting sun. Finally, they catch up to Ishmael at the great pool of Gibeon, its waters shimmering like liquid silver in the fading light. A tense standoff ensues, with both sides sizing each other up. Johanan calls out to Ishmael, demanding the release of the prisoners.
You've gone too far, Ishmael. This madness on Masuswagis ends now.
Ishmael sneers, unyielding.
You think you can stop me? Let us see who survives this day.
A fierce battle breaks out, with Johanan's men fighting valiantly against Ishmael's dwindling forces. In the end, Ishmael escapes with just 8 loyal followers, slipping away into the night. However, the captives are freed, their chains broken, and their spirits lifted by the sight of their rescuers. That evening, Johanan and the survivors gather around a campfire, its flames crackling softly against the cool night air. Faces streaked with dirt and tears look up at him expectantly, seeking solace in his strength.
We will survive this. We will rebuild together. No matter how dark the night, God's light will guide us.
The survivors nod, finding comfort in his words. Some begin to sing an ancient hymn, their voices rising in harmony as they remember those they've lost. Each pinpoint of light seems to represent a soul touched by tragedy, yet sustained by hope. In the shadow of betrayal, faith endures. In the face of despair, courage prevails. And even in the darkest hour, God's light shines brightly, illuminating the path forward. The screen fades to black, leaving behind the hauntingly beautiful image of stars scattered across the heavens.